why do we prepare children better on our side? Well, there's already this hyper-competitive work culture from like colleges and their applications. Not even just colleges, but even like grade schools, high schools, preschools are now very competitive.
MetzMusic.
Agency makes the choice to move on much more impactful for the person. We're not saying that the reconciliation will not happen. We're saying that the narrative of reconciliation is the problem. It's very difficult to process your emotions, just like Oo said. But with the narrative that exists, people are forced to accept whatever comes their way. Without the narrative, people can still choose to reconcile. People can still have this choice to, deal with it and reconcile and be like and accept the situation. But in this case, because there is no narrative, because there is no pressure, it's a complete individual choice to be able to do that, which exercises the agency of the person and also exercise the agency for them to create their own standards of reconciliation. Children are also impressionable from a young age. As we ease them into the culture of competition earlier, we know that this culture of competition is very hard to change, so it would be better that we adjust these children to it rather than, do all the hard work to change the culture itself. We ease in the ability for them to adjust to a competitive world around them. The counterfactual in a world where this isn't done from an early age is a culture shock that this allows people to adjust in time with the higher mental necessity of doing well in higher education. The counterfactual of opt that they might bring up is just make education fun. But it's not necessarily the method of teaching that makes it boring. It's just the material itself is dull. Like, no matter how many watermelons you try to buy from the store, it's not gonna make you have any more fun doing math. I just want to note that this is direct engagement to the empowering case of OG. So we just want to say something about the difference between wrestling and movies because we think this is going to be popped up. People engage in wrestling as a sport and not everyone is aware that it is scripted. If you watch a movie and you see a superhero like Wonder Woman beat up men, then you're like, yes, that is a movie. But people see wrestling, even if it's scripted, as a sport, and because people aren't aware that it's scripted. If these are really providing empowerment, but people know that it's scripted, it is not real empowerment because it is not real. It is a story, so it is just like the movies that people already complain are, horrible at like providing real representation because of course it's going to be scripted by men. And the only way that this is empowering to women is when people believe that it is not scripted, that these women are actually fighting, that these women are actually winning on their own merits, which if that happens is worse for the women because of course they would show that women can stand up physically to men. In some cases these are true, but in most cases it doesn't. If you want a manifestation of this, look at like the self-defense tactics for women. It's usually hit the attacker, usually a man, where they're sensitive, like the nether regions, the eyes, whatever, and then run. They are never telling you to physically fight. They're only telling you to fight as a last resort because you'd rather keep yourself safe and not risk the very likely scenario that the man attacking you is stronger than you. So in comparison question, what are people going to buy? Probably on Gov's World. If you're poor or middle class, you're going to buy out as much as you can. Note that prices are already inflated of like food, water, gas, etc. So you'll be able to like have your family survive. It's unclear why this will be this will incentivize like massive regrowth in the economy, but this naturally happens anyways during recessions. Everyone needs food, everyone needs water, everyone needs a way to transport themselves. So clearly the middle class and the poor doing this isn't the debate. The rich can spend on food, water, gas, and other basic necessities. Of course, they're the rich, regardless of how high the prices are, because they're rich. So if they're going to be forced to buy things, they'll probably spend it on luxury things or donate the funds, like for example in status quo, where they can just keep the money indefinitely because they donate it to charities, and then it's also in their name, where the money is worthless then. Therefore, spending goes into things that the rich want to spend on. It won't go into industries like infrastructure and manufacturing, things that the rest of the people need and basically the general public needs. This will go into, for example, luxury goods, cars, houses. Even if these companies do stay afloat, because we are talking about affordable infrastructure here, even if these companies do stay afloat and keep their employees, so of course, you're gonna have people earning money because of the rich, but because of the lack of ability for the general public to be able to access these goods, only the rich will be able to access these goods. It is not enough jobs to support the economy. You're only helping a marginal amount of people compared to the rest of the people suffering in the country. On Gov, they necessarily have to prove that every single baby that is born is typically abled. But why are people gonna do that? If you have people who are not designer babies, who are differently abled, and you want to be able to preserve that trait, the experience, the culture of your different abledness, then you can do that in our world. That if differently abled people are born, then we can assume that they are more likely to end up with parents who will love them, who because that this is an option that they chose for themselves, that they are able to provide the care needed to take care of this child. Blind people can create their own family of blind people because they want to share that attribute of being blind. They have the experience to be able to teach the newborn blind kid of how to live life being blind. There are people that believe that being differently abled is beautiful, and that also tackles directly the OG case of people will want to make things will want to create babies that are beautiful to them. In direct engagement to CG, we say that if the child doesn't consent to being born, the child also doesn't consent to its identity in relation to its environment. Like RPO, I said earlier, if they're unloved because of certain traits, then the best thing we can do is change their genetics to fit the environment that they didn't consent to, because you're bringing them into the world where they didn't want to be in. So it's better for you as the parent to give them the more convenient life, give them an easier life to live, which reduces the amount of disappointment and the unlove that the parents will do onto the child. Okay, so I will just say a trigger warning for mentions, discussions of terrorism, death, 9/11, other heinous crimes. The biggest economic booms in the US is when they manufacture war. The biggest booms in their economy is when they manufacture weapons to be able to fight these manufactured wars. The manufactured war for oil, it destabilized so many countries. The CIA funded coups to stop the rise of leftism in the Cold War. You have to hold yourself to a moral standard, like a higher moral standard, as a military that isn't even supposed to be there. Western countries interfere with terrorist cells all the time. So of course you need to have that higher moral ascendancy to be able to say, yes, we will help this country, it is suffering. You need to prove at least like that you are like the magical savior of the people that are being oppressed by these terrorists. Therefore, if you do the same things they are doing, you lose that moral ascendancy. If the terrorists and the people who are supposed to be the magical saviors are doing the same thing, what is the difference between these two groups? You don't have that moral ascendancy to give you the reason to be able to fight against these terrorists.